Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Radius Research here. I'm Martin Gagel, and for our first official webinar, we have Grand West Transportation. That's on the BUS on the TSX Venture. And today, just for history's sake, it's Monday, March the 15th. It's a little after 9 a.m. on Monday morning here. Today, we've got Will Traynor, founder and CEO of Grand West, who's joining us on the call today, as well as John LaGorge. I believe you're VP Business Development or some title like that. Thank you very much. And yeah, Grand West is making buses here in Canada and the US, and a lot of exciting stuff planned for this year. So Will, why don't you take it over and tell us how things are going?
Sure, thanks. Thanks for having me this morning, Martin. Yeah, we're very excited. We've had a lot of activity in the market, as most can see from our news releases. We're really excited. We've done well on the Canadian side, as most of you know, and about 90% of our business traditionally has come from Canada and 10% in the US. And we're really focused this year on changing that. We're setting up some very strong dealer distribution in the US with focus really around our new product, which is the electric bus that we've just introduced. For the US market, definitely California. We've got our eyes on the California market. That's where seems to be leading, that state seems to be leading the charge for electric, and our product we feel just fits right in there. We've had a lot of, to accelerate our growth, we're building a new facility down in the state of Washington. That new facility has the production capacity of about 1,000 vehicles per year. So we're just gearing up, getting our order book in line, and getting ready to take the orders on.
So you're sticking, the original business model and the manufacturing model was the buses would be partially pre-assembled, pre-built in China, then sort of the frames would be sent over and you would do the final assembly and the last of the value add here in Canada. And then you also had production partners to help you out do that in the US, correct?
Yeah, our business model always has been one where we were using outside contract manufacturing to help us build the product. We've always maintained a very strong intellectual property grasp on our vehicle. And we were bringing in product from Asia. We've strengthened our relationships. We've got product we can bring in on contract manufacturing from Europe as well. We do, as you state, do some final assembly here in Canada. In the US, this is where we've really changed the business model. In order to focus on the US, we really need to have a strong presence in the US. So we're having a new facility built down in the state of Washington, which is about a 30-minute drive from our headquarters up here in Langley, outside of Vancouver. It works well because we can share a lot of the engineering resources that we have on the Canadian side for the assembly we're doing in the US. And the product, to meet the Buy America, the product really needs to be fully assembled. And that's what our focus is with our new manufacturing facility, as well as headquartering our efforts in the US within the state of Washington.
Yeah. And are you still doing sort of, you had a contract manufacturer in the US that was doing some of the final assembly. Are they still doing any of that, or are you bringing that all in-house for the Buy America program?
Yeah, we're bringing it in-house. You know, when you're looking at the product, nobody can really put it together better than what you can do it yourself. And that's been the focus. We initially were using a company out of Detroit, Michigan to help us with the Buy America assembly. As soon as COVID come along, we couldn't really bring that to the production level that we wanted. There was no travel, cross-border travel. And it was very difficult to get our Canadian staffing down into the US for the final assembly, doing quality checks and whatnot. So bringing it home here, really closer to our headquarters in Vancouver, really helps us with the contract manufacturing for the US. And the US customers in themselves, you know, For the Buy America, really we're targeting transit operators, ones that need federal Transportation Administration funding. The FTA traditionally funds about 80% of the price of the new product. And a lot of these transit authorities, they want to come up, they want to feel, touch, see that you've got product running down the line. And I think that's really going to strengthen our, our presence and our overall image in the U.S.
Well, I'm thinking as well, like it's the play in Washington State's good location as it's 30 minutes from your Canadian operation, but as well, Washington has a highly educated manufacturing workforce with the whole Boeing and aerospace legacy that's there. I presume that's going to help you out finding skilled and effective workforce there?
Yeah, we found it extremely easy to work with the state of Washington, with the different agencies there that are helping us gather up the staffing that we're going to need for the facility. And as you stated, there is a very diverse manufacturing employment field out there.
And so what is the timeline for ramping up the construction of the facility? I presume you're not able just to take an old tilt-up warehouse and convert it. You're starting from foundation up to build this new facility.
Yeah, it's twofold. One, when we start to assemble in the U.S., we really want to ensure that we are cost effective. That's number one. That's what keeps you competitive. So we set our factory up really to be as extremely cost competitive as we can for the assembly process.
Okay, yeah, because you announced that you hired that, and I'm sorry, I slipped my name right now, the engineering firm to design the facility. So you're going to the sort of some of the best guys in the world to help you design the facility from the ground up, so it's like world class.
100%. We engaged the company we'd like to call it's called HTL. Can't really say the name properly myself, but we engaged them as HTL, and they have engaged with every major OEM on a global basis, Ford, GM, Toyota, at that level, to help them set up and ensure that their factories are super competitive. And that's why we've engaged them as well, to ensure that ours is going to flow and keep the cost factor down.
And what's the timeline here in terms of like the starting the construction, and then when you're actually, it's sort of you're ready to start production?
Well, we're hoping to have the facility up and running in Q4 this year. Okay. We're working as quickly and as hard as we can, but that is our target range.
Well, it's going from a zero, like no facility, to a production facility in roughly 12 months. That seems, I think that's indicative of the world, how fast things can move nowadays, where I think before it would take a lot longer to build a facility like that.
Yeah, you engage and have an aggressive time frame. That's it all works out.
Yeah. So let's talk about your on the client side of things. You've kind of, your client base is roughly public transit authorities and then private kind of travel tourism type groups, broadly speaking, that buy your buses for hotel or airport transit, that sort of thing. Is that roughly?
Yeah, traditionally in Canada, we're focused more just with the transit authorities. So that's where the bulk of our business comes from. But in the U.S., this is where it gets exciting. In the U.S., it's really structured. You've got 50% on the public side and 50% on the private side. You get a lot of hotel operators, airport shuttle operators, universities, colleges, theme parks. That's all on the private side. And again, as I stated, that's about 50% of what the business structure is. Okay.
And how is the market on both of those sides? Like, there's obviously a huge stimulus package just pumped through in the U.S., and they're working on an infrastructure plan. Are there funds getting directed into areas where you could access it, or how is the funding there? Because a lot of states and municipalities are in tough financial situation given COVID.
Well, that's right. And, we've seen on both sides of the border. Here in Canada, we've seen with the infrastructure funding coming out, there's been a strong support for the public transit. The federal government here has has put in about $3 billion per year over the next 5 years, really to support and take electric or add electric vehicles to the mix. And in the U.S., we see the same sort of infrastructure funding coming available. And that's why, with our new electric vehicle, we're just so excited. We've been supporting and growing our network in the U.S., particularly, like I said, with the state of California. The state of California is one of those states that is really pushing the green initiative. We just had a nice contract there close. Hopefully, we're going to be on the award process. And on the mid-size buses, it was up to 8,000 buses over a 5-year period. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and the government seems to be supporting a lot of these green initiatives.
Are the electric buses, are they prime time for full-on transit when they have such high availability needs, or is it until their ranges and so forth get longer? Is it more the electric bus on the transport, the airport shuttle, where they can have a little more downtime to recharge and so forth?
Well, what we see in the marketplace is traditionally right now, the customers are looking for about 250 miles on a charge. Our bus can do that, meet that requirement. On the transit side, when they're out on a full day, usually they're looking for more than that. They're looking, upwards to 500 miles on a charge. But the battery technology is not there yet to get that type of distance. But where we think our vehicle coming in, our electric vehicle, we've really, we took our time entering the electric vehicle market. What the vehicle we've brought in, we really think it's going to make some big inroads into the customer base, because what we did is with our batteries, we embedded the batteries into the low floor section of the bus. So the weight distribution is very low center of gravity. But we put an onboard charger on the vehicle as well. So it can charge much like a Tesla car or any of the automotive industry. So it's ease of use for the customer. The customer can take the vehicle, plug it into any standard 220, 240 volt single phase charge. And I think this is what's key, is what's really going to help us is a single phase charge. So you can imagine like a hotel operator running the routes, coming back and being able to plug in his bus right in front of his hotel and wait for the next run that he has to do while he's charging. So I think that's really going to make us super competitive in the marketplace. The other thing we've done on our small bus is that we looked at who's operating the bus and ease of use. So we actually tried to keep our mid-size bus under 22,500 GVW, and with that we could put on a hydraulic brake system, so which allows ease of use for the operator to use it, rather than having an air brake system and having to have a higher commercial license. So we're quite excited to get our vehicle into the marketplace. We currently, since we've announced our electric vehicle, we have 25 in production as we speak. We've already had orders for 5 without even having the vehicle in the yard yet. We have, out of the 20 units that are coming in, the first 5 should be in here we're hoping for mid-June. We have the first 5. We have 1 for a demonstrator in Canada, 2 for demonstrators in the US, 1 that'll have to go for some government testing, and the other one we want to get it down, fast track it into the Altoona test program, which will allow us to meet the Buy America sales qualifications.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Altoona testing. So the EV bus has to get recertified. It can't piggyback off of your prior Altoona testing, or do you get some bit of a leeway? They know what the frame works, but it's just testing different parameters of it.
I'm not sure if we'll actually get to get some qualifications. We're under the impression that we'll have to take it down there and do a full test. If there's some qualification of it that'll piggyback in, better for us. But we want to get in the queue for that test. A lot of the tenders that are coming out, they'll let you subject to your Altoona test, but we want to have that Altoona test done as quickly as we possibly can.
And the Altoona test, it's a government run sort of program, or I forget which university. And basically they're just testing how durable it is. What happens when you drive it for 500,000 miles or whatever the parameter is? Does it start shaking and that? Is that primarily that testing for the Buy America program and for transit authorities, or does the hotels and the sort of the shuttle bus industry, is that particularly important for them?
No, the private side's not looking for it. They definitely may take a look at the test, but where it really falls in is for your FTA funding, which the transit authorities are going to apply for and get up to 80% funding. You need to have, it's part of the criteria to have the Altoona test done. And really what the Altoona test is it's they're accelerating the life expectancy of the vehicle. They're really taking the vehicle and within about a 4 or 6 month period, putting on a 10-year or a 12-year life cycle, and then rating it on a pass-fail situation. That's really what the Altoona test is.
Okay, and when you with these electric buses, are you still competing or trying to take market share away from the cutaway side, or is this almost like a whole new market for new entrants, given that it's electric and so forth? What is the competitive dynamic in that space?
Well, we've always our niche market's been the mid-size bus. So we don't have a 40-foot unit, so we have traditionally in that mid-size range. That's where this is going to be competing, in that range, the mid-size.
Okay. And are you seeing a lot of competition? There is obviously some EV in the bus space. How is the competitive environment with the electric buses right now?
Well, definitely there's competition everywhere. For the reasons I set out, I think we've really, built a product that'll compete extremely well. We took our time entering that market, the way our vehicle is designed. Traditionally, what's happened in the bus industry is you want to electrify your vehicle, you take the engine and transmission out, you put a big motor in there, and then you're looking, where do the batteries fit? And in most instances, the batteries go on top of the roof, where we've really taken ours and said, okay, how can we make this product be more competitive? And what do the customers want to see? And that's where we embedded our batteries right into the low floor section of the bus. So it gives it a very low center of gravity on it, gives it a better ride. If you can imagine, if you got your batteries on a roof, it becomes very top heavy. We think we're going to compete extremely well.
Okay. On the competition side, and this sort of links in with the capital markets and all the activity in the U.S. with the SPACs, the big special purpose investment corporations that are raising tons of money, spending huge amounts on these, some electric vehicles and so forth. Are you, whether it's a legitimate competition or not, these guys can raise a lot of noise, like a Tesla type thing. If Tesla said, oh, we're going to be doing a mid-sized bus or something, even though it's vaporware, so to speak. Are you seeing any of that, or any sort of fear in the marketplace of them making decisions on which way to go?
No, when we take a look at what we consider some of the competition entering the market, a lot of them are entering on the smaller end, which are more on the van style configurations. And we don't, in order to sell a product into the marketplace, you really have to be established. This is where I think we set ourselves aside from all these new SPACs and startups. Is to date we have we're delivering product, we're bidding on product. In order to put a bid in for a lot of these transit authorities, some of them are 500 to 800 pages long. You need to have a lot of engineering support go into those bids. You need a lot of technical advice going in. And I don't know if some of the competition is going to be able to provide that type of detail. I wish them all the best, but we are an established business that's ongoing. Just in the next 2 quarters here, we're delivering over 100 units, which is, equates to over 50 million in revenue. We see the electric market really heating up, but it's not going to turn on and everything's going to be electric in day one or this year. There's going to be a transition from your diesel buses and your CNG buses into your electric buses, and that's going to take some time. And I think that's where we're established. We have a lot of established customers in place already, and we have that revenue from our traditional sales until such time as the EVs take over completely.
And you're still a relatively young, new company. You don't have a decades old history here. Do you find that the buyers on the transit side, they're now well aware of your name, as you have you're very strong product line in the mid-sized bus side, or are you still having to explain who you are to some government and transit type authorities?
No, as I stated, we have entrenched ourselves in the marketplace. If you look at on our Canadian side, we have about 90% market penetration in the mid-sized bus market. We have repeat business. We have customers that are extremely happy and having repeat orders coming from us. And even in the US, we have the same sort of relationships. And now we've added some strength in the US for our marketing, sales and marketing. One of our recent news releases was announcing our relationship with the ABC group of companies. They're a powerhouse, and they very much align themselves with the same sales philosophy, the same support philosophy as what we have up here in Canada. You really, to get into the customer base, you got to look after the customer base. You really have to have strong support systems, parts, supply in place, and that's where this ABC group, we're going to leverage off a lot of their existing customer base as well in the US.
So speaking of with the ABC group, can you talk about how your distribution, your sales and marketing, like there are a lot of potential customers out there, and like having those relationships, know where they're going. What is your sort of sales, marketing, distribution plan?
Well, so in the US, we are more of a manufacturer. So we're looking to support on an OEM manufacturer level and really retail out or sale out through our relationships, much like the ABC group. The ABC group, have very strong presence. They have a very strong sales force nationwide. So that's what we're really going to be leveraging off of.
Okay.
I can probably add a little bit there, Martin, as well. Yeah. So when you look to the sales and marketing, they've got ABC has more than 70 sales, personnel on the ground.
Yeah.
They've been around for, I think, 50, 60 years. And so they've got that full infrastructure, digital marketing. They've got ongoing parts and service agreements with many, many customers, transit included. So they just bolt this product onto it. So they'll be our lead for most of the US in our sales. And so they don't have a competing product for transit or a product like ours. They've been traditionally selling mostly motor coach for Van Hool. So we're a great fit, as Will mentioned as well. Like they have the same ethos as us, as okay, you can get the first sale, but can you support it and get and take care of your customer in a way that you're going to get additional orders, and that's where we want to be. So it's a big deal for us.
Yeah, and so they're going to be providing a lot of that support, because getting support across 50 states in the US, that's a big rollout, that's big demand. So they're able to help fulfill that for you guys.
They are the extension. So think about it as, like we have joint calls. I work with them on the marketing. We'll be joint marketing. We'll be they've got existing departments. It's a big company, right? So yeah. When you look at what they're doing, we're actually in that support to help them do the marketing into the US. So we'll be alongside them in that effort.
Yeah, and I guess that's a big competitive thing as well. Like, because if you're a VC or a SPAC kind of startup, if you're selling into Georgia or whatever state, but you got no support systems there for aftermarket support, that's got to be a big key factor in decision making for the customers.
Well, this is a tough business, right? It's as Will mentioned, you can get your first sale, but if you don't take care of your customer, you're not going to be around for long. And, yeah.
All right. Why don't we pivot over a bit to some on the capital market side, and that's with the competitors. You guys are growing fast, and you're contemplating or moving down the road to a NASDAQ listing. Can you talk about what's going on there, potential timelines, how you, at this point, how you see things rolling out?
You want to take that call, John?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you look at where we're at, we engaged with digital offering a few months ago. Right now, the process, we have to get our audited financials done for 2020. So that should be done here by the end of the month. You should see some news on the announcement of that. And then we'll be filing shortly after that for the NASDAQ uplist. And so, you know, that's going to happen in April. And then once that uplisting or the filing of the F1 or however route it ends up going, it's out of our hands, and it's probably a 30 to 60, 90 day process, but we're moving as fast as we can. So
it could even, maybe not Q2, but this could be a Q3 event?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. I'd be surprised if we're not, anyway, obviously as if forward looking, but I'd expect May and June at the latest.
Okay, all right. And should we, like, regarding that, in terms of your balance sheet, you're building a factory, how are your capital needs and so forth? Are you going to have to raise a lot of money here going forward, or what are the capital plans that you can
spend? I mean, well, obviously, you know, for the US expansion, it would be helpful to, we're going to need some additional funds for work in progress, for inventory. And also, Will's been working on a few, you know, new projects as well. And maybe I'll just let him, you know, talk about that in a bit. So, you know, we haven't, you know, decided on anything, but there, you know, there's potential for additional capital at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Will, you want to add to that, or?
Sure. Yeah. No, as John stated, you know, we've been working very hard on our EV project and all the technology that goes along with it, and we're really looking now to see how can we take some of this R&D that we've put into it and bring it across to different platforms, and that's what we've been looking at. You know, really expanding out into maybe a little bit different markets with the existing technology that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been selling products since 2013, so if there's any additional revenue generating areas where we can focus in that aren't going to take up too much of our focus, then it's certainly you know, something we've been looking at. So
okay, all right. And okay, that, and I'm just I'm surprised I'm running out of some questions here. Are there any other aspects that we haven't discussed at this point that are kind of key or salient to the discussion?
I'd say the biggest thing is, you know, when you talk about, you know, some of these other companies that are EV focused and things like that, you know, as Will did mention, I mean, we've got existing products to sell in the meantime, and I mean, you know, we've got a very strong balance sheet. You know, we really haven't had the strength in the past. We've been undercapitalized to really make a good push into the States, into the US. And that's over. We've got a very strong management team. I mean, the addition of Manuel Achadinha from, he's the CEO of BC Transit, and he signed the deal with us back in 2008 to help us bring the Vicinity to life. So, you know, he's got a tremendous amount of experience, a very, very strong leader. You know, so, you know, when you look at the size of our company versus what he was running before previously, you know, we've got 50 employees. He was running over 4,000. You know, his operating budget was $350 million plus a year, and capital budget of over $150 million. So if you can kind of, you know, reverse engineer where we're going with that, you know, we've got all the pieces in place now. And I think, you know, as well, the Canadian market is not as robust as the US for sure. And I mean, that's really, you know, that transition from a Canadian company to a US one is quite exciting for us.
Okay. And speaking of your liquidity and your balance sheet, you're well cashed up. Could you just give a quick run through on how your finances are looking and that?
Yeah, we can't get, I mean, we've got,
As of
numbers
the
coming
last,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
so we got some numbers coming out in a few weeks, but, I'd expect to be, pretty much debt free here in the next quarter, with a strong cash balance. And then, as well, like Will mentioned, we are in the midst of delivering about $50 million in revenue over the first couple of quarters. So, that puts us right back into that, profit profile that you'd seen before. So we're doing some pretty good things.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the total CapEx cost going to be of the Washington facility? What's the expected price tag with that?
Yeah, it's about $10 million that we'll end up putting in there.
Okay, so that's not actually, for a manufacturing facility, $10 million is a lot, but it's not a ton. Is that, as opposed to, I guess, in automotive, a Ford factor or something, it's not a lot of robotics and high-end stuff. It's like, I can hear behind you, Will, it sounds like you're working at the factory here today. We're hearing some bangs and thumps and that going on. So this is kind of old-fashioned steel bashing, kind of bolting things together type of thing. Is that correct?
I'll give it back to you, Will.
Yeah, no, we are, the factory down in Washington is more of an assembly factory. And that's really what it's designed for.
Yeah, yeah. And then so you're getting the basic frame stuff out of your Asian operations, and then you're getting your Cummins engines off of Cummins, and your brake systems and your power management systems off of the tier one suppliers to that.
Exactly. To meet Buy America, you need to have 70% US content. We've always developed our products to meet that content range. Now we just need to meet the assembly range as well, which we have been doing. This is some of the investor questions that we've had in the past. We have met Buy America, and we are delivering Buy America compliant product. Now we're just going to be doing it ourselves in-house, and I think it makes a lot better sense. Puts us. You always have to be competitive in the marketplace, and that's our main challenge, is to keep ourselves competitive.
And on the electric vehicle front, you're just starting off here, but how does the whole, there's been a lot of talk in the EV space about the battery supply chain with lithium and all the different things, who manufactures it. You announced a partnership with BMW for their battery technology and so forth. Do you feel like do you have any concerns that the batteries won't show up on time? You'll have that.
Oh, that's a tier one manufacturer, OEM, that we're putting in there. But, I might say, when we're looking at putting this bus together, this EV bus, we really wanted to align ourselves and stay more with the automotive style components. The automotive style components, when you really look at them, an automotive manufacturer needs to gear up. They need to have their vision on 1 million vehicles per year, so to be cost competitive. So we try to leverage off of that same platform as what the automotive industry are using for their components, which are off the shelf, proven components that are readily available and cost competitive. And I think that's going to be key for our vehicle, bringing it to market at a hugely cost competitive pricing point.
Okay. I've got a question here from the audience. What are your thoughts regarding Canadian government plan to invest $2.75 billion to support purchasing 5,000 zero-emission buses?
We love it. That really helps us out. We're marketing our bus right across Canada as we speak. We've had a couple of small tenders close recently. It's definitely the way to go. In the past, I used to say for every diesel bus that went on the road, 40 cars went off the road. Now you can just imagine for every dirty bus that comes off the road, the impact that makes on the environment is just tremendous. And we're just happy to be part of it. Yeah,
and that obviously, there's a good chance, like some of that could flow towards you guys as they're buying buses. You should have some market share. Hopefully, have some market share of that.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get our fair share of that market as well.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we're about a half an hour into this. That was really good. I think we should start wrapping up here. Will, are there any sort of final thoughts or things that we should highlight as we wrap this up?
No, we thank you for interviewing us today, getting our message out to the investor community, and just thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for making the time. It's a great story. Great to see real manufacturing and innovation happening here in BC and Canada. It's cool, especially getting exported down to the US.
Thank you, Martin.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Martin.